You know what's funny about humans? Everyone in the galaxy knows they're Deathworlders, evolved on a planet that would kill most species faster than a Saurian could mess up basic arithmetic, which, trust me, is really fast. Yet somehow everyone keeps forgetting what that actually means. Take the cargo ship Lucky Penny, for instance, currently cruising through the Orion trade routes, looking about as threatening as a Fluffian peace delegate after a meditation session. The ship's manifest listed the usual boring stuff: industrial cleaning supplies, agricultural equipment, processed food products, and various mechanical parts. Standard trade affair, really. Captain Alexandra Winters, or Alex as she preferred, because apparently all humans had this weird thing about shortening perfectly good names, was currently hanging upside down in the maintenance shaft, humming an ancient Earth tune called Another One Bites the Dust while tightening what she called a loose doohickey. "Captain," First Mate Raj Kumar's voice echoed through the comm system, his tone carrying that particular mix of amusement and exasperation that seemed to be a job requirement for first mates everywhere. "Engineering reports that Maya's latest modifications to the cargo bay loading mechanisms have increased efficiency by 47%. "Let me guess," Alex called back, giving the doohickey one final twist. "She did it using duct tape and paper clips again." "Actually, I believe she mentioned something about rubber bands this time." Maya Chen, their engineer, had what the crew fondly called creative solutions. Most species in the galaxy would call it terrifying improvisation, but they weren't here to vote. The Lucky Penny was considered a harmless trading vessel by galactic standards, no weapons listed on the manifest, because really, who needs weapons when you have a fully stocked tool shed? Minimal defensive capabilities, if you didn't count Maya's improvements, and a crew that spent most of their time either trading goods or fixing things that probably weren't broken in the first place. "All done here," Alex announced, dropping gracefully to the deck in the ship's standard 0.8G. She wiped her hands on her cargo pants, leaving smears of grease that joined their brethren from previous maintenance adventures. "Raj, how long until we reach the Centauri Junction?" "About 6 hours, Captain. Plenty of time for you to grab a coffee and maybe actually read those safety regulations updates from Galactic Central." "You know me so well, Raj. I'll get right on that, right after I help Maya test her new rubber band-powered whatever it is." The ship continued its peaceful journey through space, looking for all the world like just another harmless human trader. The kind of ship that made other species shake their heads and wonder how these Deathworlders had survived long enough to reach space, what with their seemingly chaotic approach to everything. But then again, sometimes the most dangerous things in the galaxy are the ones that don't look dangerous at all. Especially when they're crewed by humans who just love to tinker. Of course, the universe has a peculiar sense of humor. Just when Alex was about to investigate Maya's latest rubber band miracle, the ship's sensors picked up something that wasn't supposed to be there. Something big, mean, and decorated with enough skull motifs to make a teenage goth feel uncomfortable. "Captain," Raj's voice had lost its earlier amusement, "we have a Class 3 Saurian warship decloaking off our port bow. They're not even trying to hide their intentions. They've got pirates painted across their hull in 3 different languages." "How thoughtful of them to label themselves," Alex mused, already sprinting toward the bridge. "I do appreciate clear communication in the workplace." The main screen flickered to life, revealing a Saurian captain whose scales practically gleamed with polish. The kind of polish that screamed, "I spend more time on my appearance than actually fighting." His ceremonial battle harness was studded with trophies from previous conquests, and his jaw was set in what he probably thought was an intimidating snarl. "Attention, human vessel," he announced with all the dramatic flair of a community theatre villain. "This is Captain Kr'thak of the Void Claw. We have scanned your ship and found your weapon systems lacking. Surrender now and we'll only take 90% of your cargo." Alex raised an eyebrow. "Only 90%? That's practically charitable. I'm Captain Winters of the Lucky Penny, and I must say your ship's paintwork is absolutely fabulous. Really brings out the menace in those skull designs." Kr'thak's scaled face twitched in confusion. This wasn't the typical reaction to his grand entrance. Thank you. But that's beside the point. We've scanned your manifest. No weapons, minimal shields, you're practically begging to be plundered." "Oh dear," Alex sighed dramatically into the comm while simultaneously typing rapid commands into her console. Whatever shall we do against such terrifying pirates? Maya, please tell me you've finished installing those rubber bands. Better than that, Captain. Maya's voice carried the manic glee that usually preceded either brilliance or disaster, often both. I've got the cleaning supplies properly arranged. The pirates, monitoring the human communications, exchanged bewildered looks. Cleaning supplies? Rubber bands? These Deathworlders were even more pathetic than the rumors suggested. Kr'thak's first boarding party, led by his second-in-command Zexator, breached the Lucky Penny's hull near the cargo bay. They were expecting terrified resistance, maybe some futile attempts at barricading doors with furniture. What they got instead was nothing. Empty corridors, suspicious empty corridors. Captain, Zexator reported, mandibles clicking nervously. Something's not right. The humans are being too quiet. In the ship's environmental control room, Maya was humming happily while rerouting various pipes and conduits. Hey Raj, remember when you said installing separate ventilation systems for each section was paranoid overkill? I admit nothing, Raj replied from his position in the security hub, watching the pirates through cameras. But I may have been hasty in my judgment. Alex, they're approaching junction B7. Perfect. Alex's grin would have sent any sensible predator running for cover. Maya, give them a proper welcome. Something refreshing. The pirates reached the junction just as Maya finished her adjustments. The first sign something was wrong was when the atmospheric pressure suddenly changed. The second sign was the industrial-grade cleaning solution that came rushing through the ventilation system, instantly filling the corridor with eye-watering, scale-irritating foam. What is this sorcery? Zexator screamed, his voice rising several octaves as the harmless cleaning foam began to react with their protective suits. Oh, just a little mixture I whipped up, Maya's voice came through the ship's speakers, sounding unreasonably cheerful. You know how some cleaning products say don't mix? Well, it turns out if you do mix them and then add a dash of caffeine extract, the pirates scrambled backwards, slipping and sliding in the foam that was now starting to give off concerning sparkles. Back on the Voidclaw, Kr'thak watched in mounting horror as his elite boarding party fled from cleaning products. Your manifest said you had no weapons, Kr'thak roared at Alex's still smirking face on his screen. Oh, we don't, Alex replied brightly. Just standard cargo ship supplies. Though I should warn you, Maya gets creative with standard supplies, and she's been very bored lately. As if to emphasize her point, another scream echoed through the comms as the boarding party discovered what happened when you mixed human-grade industrial lubricant with artificial gravity fluctuations. Captain Kr'thak, Zexator's panicked voice cut through the chaos. They've weaponized their maintenance protocols. The cleaning supplies are bad enough, but you won't believe what they've done with the rubber bands. Kr'thak's scales paled slightly. This was supposed to be an easy raid, a simple smash and grab on an unarmed human vessel. Instead, his boarding party was being systematically humiliated by cleaning products and office supplies. And judging by the gleam in the human captain's eyes, this was just the beginning. After the initial foam fiasco, Kr'thak decided subtlety was overrated. He sent in his heavy assault team, equipped with the finest armor credits could buy. They breached through a different section, confident that no amount of cleaning supplies could penetrate their military-grade protection. Poor delusional pirates. Hey, Captain, Maya's voice chirped over the comms. Remember when you asked why I requested 15 industrial-grade plasma cutters for basic maintenance? Let me guess, Alex replied, watching the tactical display with undisguised glee. We're about to find out. The lead pirate, a burly Saurian named Kr'thak, turned a corner just in time to see Maya standing at the far end of the corridor. She was wearing standard engineering coveralls, safety goggles, and the kind of smile that should come with a warning label. Safety first, she called out cheerfully, pulling down her protective visor. Always wear proper eye protection when operating high-temperature tools. Before Kr'thak could process why a cornered engineer was giving safety advice, Maya activated all 15 plasma cutters simultaneously. She'd modified them, of course. Something about optimizing the fuel mixture for maximum efficiency. The resulting wall of plasma made a typical flamethrower look like a birthday candle. By the void, Kr'thak bellowed, backpedaling so fast he knocked over two of his squadmates. Since when do maintenance tools do that? Oh, this. Maya adjusted something on her impromptu plasma array. This is just the low setting. Would you like to see what happens when I overclock them? The pirates decided they really wouldn't. Meanwhile, in another section of the ship, Raj was demonstrating why the Lucky Penny's requisition forms always included an unusually large number of magnetic boots. He'd disabled gravity in sections C through F, creating a zero-G playground that would have made Newton question his life choices. The thing about magnetic boots, Raj explained to the floating pirates with the patience of a teacher addressing particularly slow students, is that they're really just devices that create powerful, controllable magnetic fields. He kicked off a wall, his boots humming ominously. And you're wearing metal armor. What followed was a physics lesson that the pirates would rather forget. Raj bounced from wall to wall like a demented pinball, using his boots' magnetic fields to yank pirates around like puppets on strings. Their expensive armor, rather than protecting them, turned them into helpless projectiles. I must admit, Raj commented as he sent 3 pirates crashing into each other with perfectly calculated trajectories. Maya's modifications to the magnetic field generators really do improve maneuverability. I owe her an apology for questioning her rubber band reinforcements. Back on the bridge, Alex was having entirely too much fun coordinating this chaos. Status report. Engineering team reporting, Maya's voice came through, accompanied by the distinctive sound of plasma cutters and screaming pirates. They really don't like it when I demonstrate proper tool usage. Also, we might need to requisition new floor panels and ceiling panels and, well, just panels in general. Security update, Raj added, sounding slightly out of breath. Zero-G combat training is proving highly effective, though I think some of the pirates are getting motion sickness. Should I feel bad about that? Maintenance supplies status, Alex asked, ignoring Raj's question. Well, Maya replied thoughtfully, we've used about 60% of our cleaning solution reserves, 3 kilometers of high-tension cable that I may have electrified slightly, and most of the industrial lubricant. But don't worry, I haven't even opened my actual toolkit yet. On the Voidclaw, Kr'thak watched in mounting horror as his elite warriors were systematically dismantled by maintenance equipment. The tactical display showed his troops retreating from what the computer insisted on labeling as cleaning operations and routine maintenance procedures. "Fall back!" Granak's voice crackled through the comm, sounding decidedly singed around the edges. "They've got more tools. The engineer is pulling out her toolkit." "It's just a toolkit," Kr'thak snapped. "How bad could it be?" The answer came in the form of a high-pitched whistle, followed by what appeared to be a barrage of socket wrenches. Somehow, Maya had turned her entire toolkit into a railgun ammunition supply. Each tool, precisely machined and perfectly balanced, became a devastating projectile in the zero-G environment. "You know what's great about quality tools?" Maya's voice echoed through the ship's corridors as her impromptu ammunition found their marks with suspicious accuracy. "They're precisely calibrated and extremely durable. Also, the warranty doesn't say anything about using them as kinetic projectiles." The first wave of pirates finally managed to retreat back to their ship, looking significantly worse for wear. Their armor was dented, scorched, and in several cases covered in a foam that was still merrily eating through the metal. "Captain," Zexator reported, trying to maintain dignity while dripping with industrial lubricant, "I don't think these are normal cargo ship supplies." "Of course they are," Alex's voice cut in cheerfully over their comm channel. "Everything we've used is listed right there in our manifest, under maintenance equipment and cleaning supplies. Would you like to see our requisition forms? Maya's justifications for ordering multiple plasma cutters are particularly creative." The pirates looked at their manifest again. Everything was there, exactly as she said. They'd just never imagined that basic ship supplies could be so versatile, or so terrifying. Kr'thak was having what humans would call an existential crisis. His tactical display showed the Lucky Penny's inventory list on one side and the growing casualty report on the other. He was trying and failing to reconcile the two. "How," he muttered, scales twitching, "how are they doing this with maintenance supplies?" The answer came in the form of an incoming transmission, not from the bridge, but from what was labeled as the Lucky Penny's break room. "Hey there," a cheerful voice crackled through. "This is Communications Officer Li Wei. Anyone want coffee?" Several pirates actually raised their hands before remembering they were supposed to be fearsome raiders. "I'll take that as a no," Li continued, the sound of bubbling liquid in the background. "That's probably wise. Maya helped me modify this coffee maker last week. Did you know that when you reconfigure a standard human-grade coffee machine to operate at 400% pressure and replace the water with volatile compounds from our chemical storage. The resulting explosion rocked the entire deck. Superheated steam, mixed with what smelled suspiciously like triple-shot espresso, burst through the ventilation system with the force of a small bomb. "The humans have weaponized their beverages," someone screamed. "Actually," Lee corrected, "we've weaponized the coffee maker. The beverage is just a bonus. Though I should warn you, Maya also helped me optimize the ship's communication array. Would you like to hear what happens when I modulate emergency frequencies through our new quantum harmonizer?" The pirates learned two things in rapid succession. First, that sound could indeed travel through a ship's hull if you were creative enough with radio waves. Second, that certain frequencies could make a Saurian's inner ear crystal resonate in deeply uncomfortable ways. Meanwhile, in the cargo bay, Alex was giving a masterclass in creative inventory management. "You see," she explained to no one in particular while typing commands into her console, "cargo containers are really just big metal boxes with maneuvering thrusters for zero-G loading." A series of containers suddenly detached from their moorings, their small positioning thrusters firing in perfectly synchronized patterns. The makeshift missiles shot through the breach the pirates had made, forcing the Voidclaw to execute emergency evasive maneuvers. And if you happen to fill those containers with a mixture of industrial lubricants and crystallized waste products from the ship's chemical processor. The first container hit the Voidclaw's shield, splitting open exactly as planned. The resulting mixture began eating through the energy barrier like acid through cheap aluminum. "It's really just efficient recycling," Alex finished with a grin. Back in engineering, Maya was giving an impromptu lecture on human innovation to a group of increasingly terrified pirates trapped behind a barricade. "The fascinating thing about standard ship equipment," she said, while casually adjusting something that looked suspiciously like a jury-rigged particle accelerator made from spare parts and more rubber bands, "is how modular everything is. Take this emergency hull repair kit, for example." The pirates eyed the repair kit warily. It was humming. Repair kits shouldn't hum. "The sealant foam is designed to expand and harden rapidly under pressure," Maya continued, her grin growing wider. "And if you modify the chemical catalyst, then add some energetic compounds from our mining equipment." One of the pirates raised a trembling claw. Is that safe?" "Oh, absolutely not," Maya beamed. "Would anyone like a practical demonstration?" The pirates declined vigorously. In the ship's communication center, Lee was having the time of his life. He'd discovered that by combining the ship's emergency beacon, the long-range communication array, and what he swore was just a slightly modified entertainment system, he could create focused sonic pulses that could liquefy a Saurian's lunch from 3 decks away. "It's really quite simple," he explained to the groaning pirates clutching their heads. "Everything has a resonant frequency. Finding it is just a matter of creative signal processing." But that's not what communication equipment is for," protested a pirate who was still capable of speech. "Says who?" Lee adjusted another dial. "I don't see anything in the user manual specifically prohibiting the use of communication arrays as sonic weapons. Though, to be fair, I haven't actually read the manual. Has anyone?" On the bridge of the Voidclaw, Kr'thak was coming to several uncomfortable realizations. First, that scanning for weapons had been utterly useless because apparently, to humans, everything was a weapon. Second, that whoever had classified human ships as minimal threat had clearly never seen one angry engineer with access to basic maintenance supplies. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, mandibles clicking nervously, "they're using the waste recycling system to launch—" "Are those spoons?" "How are they launching spoons with enough force to dent our hull?" "Don't ask," Kr'thak growled. "Just don't ask. What's our shield status?" "Well, sir, about that, remember those cargo containers? Apparently the humans have been collecting their chemical waste products for the past 3 months, and the combination of compounds is, innovative." A notification popped up on Kr'thak's screen. It was a requisition form from the Lucky Penny, dated 3 months ago. The request was for additional chemical storage containers for totally normal and completely non-weaponized waste products. It had been approved without a second glance. Kr'thak was beginning to understand why humans had such a reputation for turning anything and everything into a weapon. He was also beginning to wish he'd picked an easier target, like a military vessel. At least military vessels had the decency to list their weapons in the manifest. Kr'thak had reached that special place beyond fear where clarity comes, with the crystal-clear recognition that you've made a terrible, terrible mistake. But Saurian pride demanded action, and he'd already lost too much face to retreat. "All units," he roared into the ship-wide comm. "Full assault! They can't possibly have any more surprises!" On the Lucky Penny's bridge, Alex listened to the transmission and smiled. The kind of smile that made Raj quietly take 2 steps backward. "Maya," she called sweetly into the comm, "remember that absolutely insane idea you had about the escape pods? The one you said was too crazy even for us and probably violates several laws of physics? That's the one. Do it." Maya's maniacal laughter echoed through the ship's corridors. "Initiating Operation Pod Racing." The Lucky Penny's escape pods were standard issue, designed to be launched quickly in emergencies. They were not, technically speaking, designed to be loaded with compressed air from the life support systems, superheated by the engine's thermal exhaust and fired like giant torpedoes. But no one had ever told Maya that. The first wave of pirates approaching the ship's starboard side had exactly half a second to realize that the incoming escape pods were glowing before impact. The resulting explosion of superheated air and metal sent them tumbling through space, their comm channels filled with creative cursing in 17 different languages. "Did you just—" Kr'thak's voice cracked slightly. "Did you just turn your emergency escape systems into a weapon?" "Oh no," Alex replied innocently. "That would be against regulations. We're just conducting an emergency evacuation drill," very enthusiastically. Meanwhile, Lee had reached what he called peak creativity with the communication systems. He'd managed to sync the ship's warning klaxons with the waste disposal unit's sonic pulses, creating what he proudly called a symphony of doom. "The really neat thing about sound in space," he lectured to the incapacitated pirates clutching their audio sensors, "is that while it can't travel through vacuum, it travels beautifully through ship hulls, especially when you match the resonant frequency of standard-issue pirate armor." In engineering, Maya had moved beyond simple tool-based weapons. She'd somehow managed to reconfigure the entire deck's atmospheric control system into what she called a selective pressure cooker. "The brilliant thing about industrial-grade cleaners," she explained while casually adjusting valves, "is that they're designed to be safely contained under normal conditions. But if you superheat them, pressurize the resulting gas, and then suddenly release that pressure in a directed burst, the resulting chemical cascade turned an entire corridor into what could only be described as a no-pirate zone." Kr'thak, watching his forces being systematically dismantled by cleaning supplies and safety equipment, made his final, desperate move. He decided to personally lead the assault on the bridge. "You think you're so clever," he snarled as his boarding pod cut through the hull near the command center. "But let's see how well you handle close combat." He burst onto the bridge, expecting chaos. Instead, he found Alex sitting calmly in her captain's chair, drinking from a mug labeled "World's Okayest Captain." "Oh good," she said, not bothering to stand. "I was hoping you'd try this, Maya. Remember that thing you wanted to test with the artificial gravity plates? The one that definitely voids the warranty." "That's the one." What happened next would later be described in pirate bars across the galaxy as the incident that proved humans are actually insane. Maya had reprogrammed the gravity plates to create localized fields of varying intensity, essentially turning the bridge into a physics-defying obstacle course. Kr'thak found himself alternating between floating weightlessly and being slammed into the deck with 3 times normal gravity, while Alex somehow moved through the chaos like she was taking a casual stroll. "The fun thing about artificial gravity," she explained while casually dodging Kr'thak's increasingly desperate attacks, "is that it's really just controlled manipulation of mass effect fields, and if you understand the physics behind it." She pressed a button on her chair. The gravity directly under Kr'thak increased to 5 Gs, pinning him to the deck. "You can do some really interesting things with momentum and inertia." This is impossible," Kr'thak gasped from his position on the floor. "None of this should work. You're using maintenance equipment and cleaning supplies." "No," Alex corrected him, finally standing up. "We're using human ingenuity. Everything on this ship is a tool, whether it's a weapon or not." She smiled that terrible smile again. "Well, that depends entirely on how creative you're willing to get." She leaned down to look Kr'thak in the eyes. So, would you like to see what else we've come up with? Or are you ready to have a civilized discussion about why attacking cargo ships is bad for your health? Kr'thak looked around his ship's tactical display, taking in the countless damage reports, the medical alerts from his crew, and the ever-growing list of non-weapon weapons being deployed against them. Sometimes, he reflected, the better part of valor was admitting you'd picked a fight with the wrong species. He swallowed his pride along with a small amount of industrial cleaner residue. I believe we may have made an error in judgment. Wonderful. Alex's smile became genuinely friendly. In that case, would you like some coffee? The non-weaponized kind, I promise. 3 weeks after what became known as the Lucky Penny incident, Kr'thak found himself sitting in a galactic administrative office, providing his 7th deposition about the event. The bureaucrat, a Zenthari with too many eyes and not enough patience, was struggling to process his report. So let me get this straight, the bureaucrat clicked their mandibles in confusion. You're saying they defeated your entire crew using cleaning supplies? And maintenance tools, Kr'thak added glumly. Don't forget the rubber bands or the coffee maker, especially the coffee maker. The incident had sparked a fascinating debate in the Galactic Council about weapon classifications. The resulting legislation was a masterpiece of bureaucratic confusion, eventually settling on a new warning label for human vessels. Caution: this vessel contains humans and associated maintenance supplies. All items aboard should be considered potentially hazardous when in human possession. Attempting piracy may result in exposure to creative engineering, weaponized cleaning products, and possibly interpretive physics. In pirate bars across the galaxy, the story spread like wildfire. Veteran raiders would grab newcomers by their various appendages and offer one crucial piece of advice. Check the manifest, they'd say, eyes wide with remembered trauma. If you see more than 3 types of cleaning supplies or an unusually large number of maintenance tools, run. And if you see anything about rubber bands, just don't ask. The Lucky Penny's reputation grew to nearly mythical proportions. Other human ships started hanging signs in their airlocks reading, "We learned maintenance from the Lucky Penny crew," generally considered the spacefaring equivalent of "beware of dog." As for Captain Alex and her crew, they continued their trading runs, though with some interesting new additions to their manifest. Notice, this vessel carries standard human cargo ship equipment, SHCSE. By approaching within weapons range, you acknowledge that anything can be a weapon in human hands and absolve the crew of responsibility for any creative reinterpretation of everyday items that may occur in self-defense. Maya still experiments with rubber bands. Lee continues to find new uses for communication equipment that definitely aren't in the manual, and Raj has perfected the art of zero-G combat, using magnetic boots and office supplies. And somewhere in the depths of space, a group of reformed pirates tells anyone who'll listen about the time they learned the hard way why human ships don't bother listing weapons in their manifest. Because when everything's a weapon, nothing is. These days, Kr'thak would later tell his hatchlings, I don't check manifests for weapons anymore. I look for cleaning supplies. If a human ship has more than one type of industrial cleaner, well, let's just say some cargo isn't worth the trouble. He still can't drink coffee without flinching.